What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. For today's video, thanks to the wicked team over at Shozy Store, we're going to be checking out DNA Design's DK-47 upgrade kit for the Transformers Legacy Volcanicus. Now, if you'd like this or any of their previous kits, then make sure to check out the links down below. Now, to give you guys a run through of everything included, there are a mixture of both accessories and upgrades. So, to begin with, we finally see the return of Volcanicus' iconic dual swords. These are looking wicked when it comes to detail, and to be fair, are a much needed accessory, as unfortunately Volcanicus himself lacked any form of weaponry first time round. In addition to those, we also see the exact same pair, this time re-decoed with the translucent blue and a pretty sweet looking metallic silver. So I should imagine paired along with these, Volcanicus should have no issues in slicing the crap out of those Decepticons. Now, to whack out the big guns when it comes round to some actual upgrades, we finally have some brand new forearms with fully articulated fingers, which I think are looking sick. Already I can tell that these will be a big improvement in comparison to the originals. Easily my favourite out of the bunch though would have to be these brand new Volcanicus feet, which when it comes to detail, to be fair, I think are looking sick, and these were probably the upgrade that I was the most looking forward to, just as unfortunately the standard Hasbro Volcanicus definitely was kind of stumpy in the foot department, simply because he never included any, so definitely cannot wait to whack these bad boys on. To wrap things up for the Volcanicus Combined Mode upgrades, we also have this brand new skirt section, which appears to be a direct throwback to the power of the Prime's Volcanicus, which I thought was a really nice detail. Now, moving on to some of the accessories for the individual Dinobots, up first we have two dual swords for the king himself, Grimlock. There is also a specific pair designed to go along with Swoop, which I thought was pretty cool. The detail for the scale I think is surprisingly packing a punch. Then finally, when it comes round to some Dinobot swords, we also have this pair, which in addition to being used with Slug, I guess you could also whack onto Sludge. I'm definitely a big fan that they included two of each sword so that you can fully deck out the Dinobots even when they are in their robot forms. But now let's whack out the miniguns, because there are also quite a few blasters which are intended for the Dinobots. So up first we see a pair which I believe are designed to go alongside Sludge. There is also a pair for the newest Dinobot recruits, that being the Medic Scar. And to finally round things off for the accessories, there are also a pair intended for Dinobot Snarl. So when it comes around to weaponry, these Dinobots are most definitely stacked. In addition to being able to use all of these when in robot form, you can totally store each and every single one of them on their Dinobot form. So these guys are most definitely going to be units on the battlefield. When it comes round to some upgrades intended for the individual Dinobots, we get this brand new neck section which is packing articulated arms for the king himself, Grimlock. Last but by no means least, there are then a total of 6 individual fillet pieces which are intended for Dinobot Sludge. Now, in addition to help aiding the look of his robot form, I think these are more so designed for the look of the combined form, so again, definitely cannot wait to whack these bad boys on. Now, before we get stuck into upgrading Volcanicus, there is also a base mode that you can create by utilising all of the accessories and the weapons. Now, whilst I personally have never really been a big fan of base forms, I did think it was pretty cool that you can kind of create a weapons rack for the Dinobots when they are in their individual form. So, for this, the first thing you're going to want to do is whack out this forearm, which has this attachment slapped on the base. You are then going to want to bring out the two dual blasters, which are intended for Snarl, and slap them into these ports on either side, until you are left with something which should be looking like this. Now that's complete, we can then whack out these big bad boys and snap these here into the slots up top. With the other side now ready and raring to go, here is where you are going to whack out these blasters, which are then going to slide into these circular ports up top, until eventually you are left with something which should be looking exactly like that. So all of the blasters are now combined onto this forearm, and I won't lie to you guys, just by itself, this appears to be an absolute unit. For the next step, you are then going to want to merge the feet of Volcanicus and the swords of the individual Dinobots until you are left with something which should be looking exactly like this. With that now complete, we can whack out the second forearm attachment, spin this sucker here to the underside, and there is a pretty meaty slot that this tab here is going to slide into. So flip this sucker here to the underside and snap that bad boy into place until you are now left with something which should be looking exactly like this. Then for the next step, we can bring out the skirt armor of Volcanicus, and on the underside it is loaded with different slots, which are eventually going to slide into these tabs. Now unfortunately the connection is a little looser than I'd like, so more than likely this will detach, but at the end of the day, this is exactly how this section should look. Once that's complete, here is where we can bring out the second side. So there is a pretty big slot here that is going to slide into that tab, so make sure that that there is very nicely snapped into place. With that said and done, here is now where we can fuse the two halves directly down the middle. So just snap that sucker there into place until you should be left with something which should look exactly like this. For some finishing touches, on the top side of each of the foot is one circular port that the swords very nicely snap into. So just peg that bad boy there into place, and there is the base mode fully combined. Gonna be honest guys, I think visually this doesn't look too bad, and as I mentioned previously, I like thinking of this as kind of an armory for the individual Dinobots to use just before they do combine in order to charge against the Decepticons. One thing though which I'm not the biggest fan of would be the build quality. Unfortunately, it really doesn't take much at all for this thing to literally crumple into pieces. So whilst this is a neat bonus mode, I definitely don't think it's the main reason why you guys will be picking up this upgrade kit. Because now we're going to whack out the big guns and begin upgrading Volcanicus. So for the first step, you are going to want to whack out the king himself, Grimlock. You'll then want to directly split him exactly down the middle and then begin to remove these ball joints away from the pegs. So detach that section like that and do exactly the same here for the opposite side. Then for the next step, we can bring out the brand new chest unit, which is fully packed with articulated arms. Then all you'll do is place these over the top of the ball joints. So here is one that I made previously, and once that's complete, here is him now fully fused with his new components. Now, checking out Grimlock in his combined form, there is one pretty big visual difference, and that would be that the shoulders are now completely symmetrical, which I definitely do think is a big upgrade in comparison to the original. There's also a second transformation that you can give this guy, and it pretty much means that you pop these off and swap them to the opposite sides in order to create for some pretty banging knee armor when it does come round to that combined form. Now, whilst I think that looks sick, unfortunately he then loses the ability to transform, so just bear that in mind when you do begin popping off the ball joints, because I'm going to be honest guys, whilst it is super easy to do, I'm not quite sure how well that thin plastic is going to stack up over time. When it comes round to the gap fillers for Dinobot Sludge, here is one that I made previously. So DNA Design have pretty much turned those thunder thighs into thick thighs. This guy is now stacked when it comes to plastic, which is awesome. These gap fillers do wonders for this guy visually, and even as we spin him around here to the back, the entire back of this guy has also been fully detailed, which I think is looking pretty sick. Would have been awesome had they maybe found the way to have minimized the size of those thunder thighs, but to be fair, the reason why they have added these gap fillers is so that when it does come round to that pretty sweet combined form, these look so much better than they did originally. Now let's whack out the big guns and truly begin upgrading Volcanicus. So originally this was the foot design of the Hasbro Volcanicus. Unfortunately this definitely came across as being super stumpy and was really limiting as far as articulation goes. Although for some strange reason Hasbro and Takara Tomy did engineer this slot on the underside, which I'm pretty certain we're going to see more of once it does come round to that inevitable Dino King retool. But for the time being, DNA Design also made full use of that in creating this brand new foot design, which very nicely just slides into the underside of the original leg to create a far superior design. And I don't know about yourselves guys, but I think this is looking sick. Not only is the integration seamless, but this definitely makes Volcanicus proportionally look so much better. These are also packing a punch when it comes around to articulation, so in addition to rocking side to side, they can also rock forwards, rock backwards, and rotate all the way around. And the tolerances, at least when it comes around here to the snarl combination, to be honest, are actually top notch. The integration is also exactly the same as we whack out the Grimlock leg, so snap the foot into the base and bang, there we have this here fully upgraded and it looks awesome. The only downside would be that unfortunately the tolerances I have found for this side to not be as tight as what we saw with Snarl. When you do begin articulating this, 9 times out of 10 that foot will detach, which can become a little annoying. And another thing which is worth pointing out is that we now no longer have any use for this heel spur. Now you could, if you wanted to, attach it onto the brand new foot, but then it creates for an asymmetrical design. So honestly guys, I would definitely recommend to set that bad boy off to the side. But DNA Design ain't finished cooking just yet, because now we're going to turn to some of the upgrades for the Volcanicus arms. So here we have Dinobot Scar in his official transformation. We are about to make this look so much better. So for the first step, take the hand and set this here off to the side. There is actually a use for this which I will showcase later on in the video. Once that's complete, we can then take the front set of Dinobot legs and slide these bad boys here forwards. You'll then want to take a hold of the combiner port. Then what you'll do is rotate around here at the waist, exactly like like this until eventually the back is now facing the front. Then what you'll want to do is split this sucker directly down the middle. You'll then only want to take this side and begin compressing this upwards like you would if you were about to transform this guy into his Dinobot mode. Now that's complete, we can then make use out of this ball joint and begin spinning that around. Now that's done, what you'll then want to do is take those Dinobot legs and begin to slide these here back down, and the same can also be said for the combiner port until eventually you are left with something which should be looking exactly like this. For the next step, we are now going to whack out this forearm attachment, which is different in comparison to the opposite side, so definitely make sure that you have this one. And to my surprise, DNA Design have absolutely made use out of that hollow space. This brand new forearm very nicely integrates into the pre-existing sculpt to create what is undeniably a superior transformation for these combiner arms. I mean, these look awesome. When it comes to detail, those brand new knuckles I think are looking sick, and the articulation is so much better in comparison to what we saw first time round. In addition to that double elbow joint, the wrist can also swivel, and each and every single one of the fingers is packing a ball joint, so you can definitely get super expressive with those. The exact same glow up can definitely be matched as we whack out Dinobot Swoop. So here is the original combiner arm, which I won't lie to you guys, this looks super weak when it comes to design. So for the first step, take a hold of that hand, and again, make sure to set this off to the side because it does have a pretty big role to play later on in the video. Then for the next step, we can take a hold of the shoulders and begin to angle these here outwards. You'll then want to spin around here to the back, take the pterodactyl wings and begin to angle these here outwards like that. Then for the next step, we can take the waist and rotate this here all the way around exactly like this. Then what you'll want to do is begin hinging upwards here at the knee. Now once you reach to around about this point, here is where we can begin to separate this bad boy exactly like that down the middle. Then for the next step, we can whack out this brand new forearm attachment. So as I mentioned previously, due to the different transformations of both Swoop and Scar, the forearms will differ. So once again, this is the one which is designed specifically for Dinobot Swoop. And to my surprise, DNA Design have only gone and done it again because these slots here, which originally were hollow, are now going to become filled in by these big meaty tabs. So slide that bad boy into place. You'll then want to do the same here for the opposite side. Once that's complete, we can then combine the legs directly down the middle, proceed to fold these here all the way up exactly like that. Then what you'll do is take these wings and begin to close these here inwards. So do the same here for the opposite side. We'll then spin around here to the front. Make sure that you take those shoulders and snap those into place. Let's do the same here for this side, and there is the brand new fully upgraded Dinobot Swoop arm, and this looks amazing when it comes to detail. What an upgrade in comparison to the original. Much like Dinobot Scar, the fist is now fully articulated. You can also completely open the palm, which I thought was pretty sweet, and the brand new bicep rotation is just awesome. So this is an upgrade I think in about every single way in comparison to the original. But that ain't all that DNA Design have cooked up for this upgrade, because you can also begin to bulk out the actual torso. Now here is the brand new skirt attachment. This tab here is going to slide into what was originally the mushroom peg, so just snap that bad boy there into place, and there is no denying that that looks so much better in comparison to the sculpting that we did see first time round. To be fair, that actually looks kind of sick. That's not all though, because as I mentioned previously, they also make use out of the original combiner fists. So what you'll want to do for this is combine these suckers so that they now look exactly like this. And whilst the connection may not be super secure, DNA Design have now turned these into some full-blown gap fillers. So we are now going to slide this into this massive gaping hole that we have on the back. And to be fair, I actually don't think this looks too bad, especially from a front-on view. So I thought it was kind of cool how they made use out of what would otherwise be pointless, useless accessories. Erupting his way across the battlefield, here we have Volcanicus, now fully upgraded. When it comes to some comparisons, first up we have the myth, the legend that is Earthrise Optimus Prime, and I honestly think he looks great. The only thing which maybe I would have liked to have seen upgraded also would have been the head sculpt. Proportionally, it does appear to just be a little too small in comparison to the rest of the body, but that really is a minor qualm for what is otherwise a banging looking combiner. Here is how he fares against the Voyager class Earthrise Megatron, Deluxe class Netflix Bumblebee. Now for their core class equivalents, we have Optimus Prime, and it's really scaled alongside these figures that Volcanicus appears to be an absolute beast. To be honest, I also think he sizes up really nicely against some of the Titan classes also. We then have core class Megatron, and Volcanicus and the rest of the Dinobots will most definitely have the Decepticons shaking in their boots. And then finally core class Bumblebee, who I honestly think has a much better looking head sculpt in comparison to the Studio Series 86 version. So, wrapping up on this review for the DNA Design DK-47 upgrade kit for the Transformers Legacy Volcanicus. Overall, this is an absolute banger of an upgrade kit, easily one of DNA Design's best entries this year so far. The brand new forearms, the articulated hands, and especially those brand new foot attachments do wonders for the overall combined mode. Not only do they help to maximise articulation, but the overall proportions I just think look way better with their integration. Not to mention that this guy is also stacked in the accessory department. Now the base mode, whilst I personally am not the biggest fan of it, I still thought it was pretty cool to give the Dinobots essentially an armory to use when they're about to head into battle. The only downside would be that unfortunately it doesn't really stay together all that well, but I really do just view it as a bonus mode. So overall, if you own the Legacy Volcanicus and you are looking for some pretty sweet upgrades, then I definitely think DNA Design have you covered. I would love to get your guys' thoughts down below on this upgrade kit. If you are looking to pick this up, then be sure to check out the links down below. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and until my next video, transform and roll out!